located to the speaker's right that will indicate how much time is remaining. A bell will sound when you have 30 seconds left. Before you begin your comments, please state your name and thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette, and good evening. Welcome to your Forest City Council public comment meeting. I will call us to order. Our first speaker is going to be John McFarland. And before John,
Mayor?
I'm sorry, we have an invocation.
Yes.
Pastor Moore, come on down. I don't either.
Councilmember Nettles, would you like to fill in for Pastor Moore?
Thank you, Chris.
Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
All right, let us bow. Most gracious and eternal God, we come to you as humble as we know how. We ask you to be in this meeting with us tonight. We ask you to bless our elected officials and our community and the city of Fort Worth. Bless this meeting. Let it be conductive and accordingly. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Council, our first item of business will be approval of the minutes from the October, November, and January council meetings.
Second.
A motion and a second, council. Please vote. I've got yays from all remote members. Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes all of the items.
Thank you, Jeanette. Our first speaker is John McFarland, and before John speaks, I know we have several members of the community here on behalf of the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. I was going to ask Dr. Cody Wittenberg or Mark McDaniel to come down and maybe give some context to some things we've been working on that might be helpful for those of you that came for that purpose tonight. And before you speak, because I know it's kind of awkward, we can't speak back to you, but I think it could be helpful to hear from Dr. Wittenberg and Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll start. Mark McDaniel, Deputy City Manager. So I have been working with a number on the council for a few months now, trying to put together a meeting to meet with the folks that are concerned about environmental justice as it relates to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is part of the role of the lab currently, and Eric and his team have been trying to set that up. We've got several council members that have expressed interest in making that happen. And so what we envision is us calling together, like we have with other entities, a focus group. So we've done this with a number of our local variety of groups. So this focus group will be about the comp plan, but obviously we'll talk about land use and end up talking about environmental justice. And so we're happy to do that. We anticipate that will be in March. And the sooner the better. I know that there's a lot of background work that's been done. In addition to that, I want to call on Dr. Wittenberg to talk a little bit about some good news that we've received about some grant funding. So, Dr. Wittenberg.
Thank you, Mark.
So good evening, Cody Wittenberg, Environmental Services Director. So you may recall in 2023, we applied for an environmental justice government-to-government grant. And last year, we actually received notification that we were selected, I want to underscore that word, we were selected by the EPA for that $1 million grant. We haven't brought that news forward until tonight because we really haven't received the award. And with recent changes, we're not exactly sure if and when those funds will be released for us to move forward with that project. But just to underscore that, it's a kind of a dedicated 3-year planning project for the Echo Heights neighborhood as one example, and we're hoping those funds get released soon.
Thank you, Dr. Wittenberg. Council, any questions for Cody or for Mark? Thought that would be helpful, and I'll invite now John to come down to the microphone, and then to Richard Perez will be the next speaker. Thank you.
Hey, Council, John McFarlane. I'm in District 9, and I am representing the Greater Fort Worth Sierra Club, which is the nation's largest environmental nonprofit. And obviously, I'm part of the coalition, the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. And we are obviously demanding or requesting that the city include environmental justice in all of their planning aspects. And it's a bit ironic that I got a call from Mr. Flatiger today. I wonder if that has to do with this meeting, but anyway, I do appreciate the call and knowing that there is a meeting being set up, so I appreciate that. The Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities mission is to advance the tenets of environmental justice within the city of Fort Worth to ensure low-income and minority communities are fully protected from disproportionate and adverse health and environmental effects and hazards, including those related to climate change, adverse air and water quality, and the legacy of racism. We believe that including environmental justice as the overarching theme in the comprehensive plan will help to ensure that EJ is considered in everything the city does from now until 2050 and farther, and all the services it provides, including land use planning and zoning, separating industrial from residential, developing parks and green space, or simply repairing roads and providing city services like police and fire. During the first and only round of comprehensive plan conference meetings, we attended and entered comments on both comment sheets and the large format sheets. And then in September 2024, the coalition emailed a letter to council and staff asking to schedule a public meeting regarding environmental justice, but to no avail. There was no response. Due to the lack of that response, we created an action alert, which to date has sent over 3,500 emails, yes, you're welcome, to council and staff, asking them to set up a meeting, an EJ meeting, and to include EJ in the comprehensive plan. So the time has come to set up to to step up and join the 21st century and do what other large cities are doing, which is to focus on the overburdened and underrepresented communities within our city and ensure they get full protections they need and to ensure they are treated fairly and equitably, especially in regards to disparate health effects of tractor trailer trucks, belching diesel particulate matter, nitrogen oxides and VOCs into the air, and creating a noise nuisance while they lie idle just a few feet from residential backyards, gas wells polluting their air and water, and the heat island effect caused by more pavement and fewer trees. Again, we are simply asking for a public meeting targeting environmental justice communities and to include EJ as a theme in the comp plan. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Richard Perez, followed by Homer Blocker. Is Mr. Perez here? Homer Blocker will be followed by Bob Willoughby.
Hello, I'm Richard Perez, and I live in District 2 in the historic Marine neighborhood. We're located just behind the Rosemarine Theater off of North Main Street. I'm here today with fellow members of the Environmental Coalition of Fort Worth as part of due diligence and effort to support an environmental justice meeting with the Fort Worth 2050 Comprehensive Plan. We want to discuss specific goals and objectives for environmental justice into the 2050 Comprehensive Plan. So to me, environmental justice is 21st century environmental targets and goals. Environmental justice is to protect residential areas from industry next door, and that no single demographic gets polluted more than others. But unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes, and we know that old environmental policy and zoning created problem areas in our city, with certain neighborhoods plagued more with more industrialization and others, and the pollution that goes with it. Whether that was via ignorance or negligence of our past local Fort Worth government, I do not know for sure. But I do know we need to strive to continue to correct it. From my perspective in my neighborhood, I know more must be done. This past year in 2024, my family was exposed to irritants released into the air from nearby chemical factories. For example, just heading out of the house in the morning to take my sons to their high school and getting blasted by chemicals in the air that stung their eyes and throats. And just sitting outside at night with my wife and having to retreat to inside since the air was foul and difficult to breathe. So when I think the problem is resolved after a break in the issue, it just happens again, regardless of my contact with Fort Worth Environmental and TCEQ. I can also share with you that hyper-local air quality data from our own monitors shows increased pollution at nights and morning hours in my neighborhood. Environmental justice is unfinished business in Fort Worth. We need to collaborate more with Fort Worth, and I want you to join us and our environmental partners in making Fort Worth the best it can be in the 21st century with our environmental justice initiatives. And lastly, a big thanks to the City Council for consideration of some of the cases where environmental concerns were made. Thank you. And thanks to Councilwoman Martinez for responding to our environmental justice email ahead of time. And a huge thanks to Texas A&M Law School for their environmental justice study on Northside and Echo Heights Stop 6. So a big shout out to them, a huge thanks to them. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Homer Blocker, followed by Bob Willoughby.
How y'all doing? Homer Blocker. All right, here we go again. Like I say, I'm here to help everybody, no matter what neighborhood, what district. It don't bother me. I'm out of District 5, Stop 6 all day. So, again, I say, at the end of the day, I'm here to help. I don't care who's getting elected. I don't care who's the mayor. I don't care about none of that. I care about my communities. Okay? So, we got cousins shooting cousins over dice games. We got cousins shooting cousins over he had more weed than me and all that. These guns got to quit playing. You know, that's what it is. I mean, people say, well, guns don't kill people. People kill people. That might be true, but there's too many of them out here. Too many guns on the streets. I mean, I don't know if y'all can come together, have them, hey, man, bring guns down here, get some of them off the street, whatever. Give them $100 a gun. I don't know. But either way it go, even on Miller. Like I said, when that officer got shot by my cousin's house and I had to go to a sergeant to have them to start coming down there on Miller to shut down a bunch of that play. So the plays that was played ended up Corey getting killed on the other end of Miller. I mean, but y'all presence, the police presence is good. You know what I'm saying? Even though people go to the lake, they want to have fun, they can. You see what I'm saying? There's plenty of other places I went where I seen white people, Mexicans doing their thing, nobody getting killed, nobody getting hurt. So at the end of the day, I mean, if I know y'all probably short on police officers. Dallas is 900 short. So, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, no matter what goes on, we need to really cut down on all this violence. You know what I'm saying? Too much bloods, too much cripping, too much all that. Now, it don't fall in everybody's neighborhood, but it's out there. You see what I'm saying? It's out there. So, you know, when everybody go home thinking about, oh, well, I live in a good neighborhood. Okay, keep thinking that. Because trust me, it's everywhere. So, like I say, I've been shot at 6 different occasions by Crips and Bloods. I'm never close to being scared, but I'm here to help. So like I say, I mean, I wish Chief Noakes was here. I hate he done stepped down, you know, come what, March? I guess he out of there. So it really don't matter. Whoever the next chief is, I'm gonna rub shoulders with him. You know what I'm saying? Whoever the next mayor is, I'm gonna rub shoulders with them. Because at the end of the day, this is my town, this is my city, and I'm here to represent that. So like I say, I only got a couple of seconds left. If we can get some signs up where everybody hang out with these guns, like the school, you know, the school say gun-free zone, see, that'll give the officers a lot of leeway to come up on that property. You know what I'm saying? It won't be no, oh, I'm gonna sue you because you checking my car. Oh, I'm gonna sue you because you harassing me. No, big old sign say gun-free zone. So you shouldn't be in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Blocker. Our next speaker is Bob Willoughby. Mr. Willoughby will be followed by Letitia Wilburn.
I can work on that. I got a announcement for George Childs. Wants you to know he'll be back. Circumstances under his control is why he's not here. You don't you think he quit? Okay. That's my website there. We're going to be offering pages to all the people running for mayor in this race here. We're going to be working with Walmart, giving out leaflets who's running for this election.
Stuff that the city doesn't tell you and our local news does not tell you is this kind of stuff here. You go to the city website, you won't see anything about right now it's time to sign up to be mayor or to sign up to run for
Councilmember
office.
Beck, yes.
What's the matter? Am I being interrupted or something or what? Is my time being used up by her? Point of order, please.
Yeah, it's sustained. You can't use a campaign website, but you can keep talking. Just take that off of there and keep going. You're fine. I just can't
Okay,
let
I
you
don't,
have
okay, I
campaign
probably
material.
lost part of my time here, anyway. One of the things, oh, you can't put that up there now, my website?
No,
Oh, really? You used to be able to put it up there. Y'all said as long as I don't put my, oh God, they're gonna waste my time here. I wanna get a point out. These organizations I see come down here all the time, they come and they go. My argument with y'all is things that affect the whole city, like free speech that you took away from city council meetings. This is a comment meeting. It's not a council meeting. The difference between a council meeting and a comment meeting is a council meeting is where business is conducted. And this kind of stuff should be at a council meeting where business is conducted. Anything going on should be there. And we were there before you got here. You took that away. You got us in these comment meetings. Another thing, I see these people come there and they yell about their little personal thing, okay? And that's it. They're not that they're not important. Police is important. There's crime going on, all kind of stuff. All kind of people have problems. But they only care about their little pocket. They don't care about the overall. None of them are going to come down here and ask you why, Mary Matic Parker, that Police Fitzgerald should have got $5.5 million for not putting Bessie Price in jail. She got caught robbing us. He's a whistleblower, but y'all paid him off. You know, Al Capone's got to be turning his grave because what y'all doing legally now was illegal back in the 20s. You couldn't pay off police legally with our money, but you can't. But none of these people are going to ask these kind of questions. Media's not going to ask these kind of questions. My website, which they don't want up there now because the videos and you see, they don't want you to see. And that's what I don't like about this council. It's not a council. It's dictatorship. It's self-centered people. You've never been to council meetings before in your life. You've been to a bond meeting, budget meeting, but here you sit like you're somebody, you know? That is what's wrong with our city. News, we need to get more people involved with what's going on in voting. And that is what we're going to try to do. With Walmart, we're giving out leaflets, and we're going to get it out there. You won't let it out here. That's okay. Most of these people down here don't care anyway. They're the establishment. That's what keeps people in office, the establishment. The same 30,000 people. Doesn't matter who goes in. When you step down, they'll put another person just like it unless we get the other part of the city woke up. Thank you for taking away my website.
our next speaker is Letitia Wilburn, followed by Chimoa you're going to pronounce it correctly for me, Ugwanali. I got a halfway thumbs up. She's going to fix it for me when she gets here. Letitia.
Hi, good afternoon. Letitia Wilburn. I'm a member of Echo Heights Stop 6 Environmental Coalition, Echo Heights Neighborhood Association, and Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. The reason we're asking for environmental justice is because pollution affects everybody. It doesn't just affect specific neighborhoods. Echo Heights is a perfect example as to why we need environmental justice. Echo Heights, as of January 21st, 2025, has 8,148 residents in the community. The community was annexed in 1955 by the city of Fort Worth. At that particular time, it was white. The community was mostly family, one zone, two family, single family homes, neighborhood commercial businesses, and commercial restricted businesses with agriculture. By the time the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s came around, Echo Heights became more diverse. The community started to see changes in the zoning practices. In 1982, Echo Heights was considered a unique mix of old and new. The community was predominantly Black at this time. It was churches, houses, parks, community facility, agriculture, land, and 2004 came the Sun Valley PID, which was 24.2 acres of industrial under Ordinance 16001. This is not in addition to what's on the northern end of Echo Heights up there by Village Creek and Martin, all of that area. The recent comprehensive plans show that there are no checks and balances, there are no buffers. Echo Heights, with 8,000 people, has over 200 industrial business in there. There's thousands of 18-wheeler trucks over there. Each one of those 18-wheeler trucks, the thousands of them over there, really, not being sarcastic, realistically, each one emits 1,000 chemicals. Out of those chemicals, each truck emits 40 cancer-causing chemicals. Now, you factor that in with, you have the trucks, you have trash companies over there, you have fracking sites, and all the other facilities over there. Right now, Fort Worth has its own Cancer Valley and its own asthma hotspots. This area is sick and it is dying because of y'all's lack to do due diligence and address the environmental justices that are going on. It's something that affects the whole city. It doesn't just stop in one place, it continues to go. And that's all I have to say.
Our next speaker is Chioma Ugwanali, followed by Jim DeLong.
All right, good evening. My name is Chioma Ugwanali. I work for the grassroots organization Livable Arlington, though I am also speaking as a granddaughter of a longtime Fort Worth resident who now lives in District 5. In the past 3 years, the vast majority of new fracking permits, gas well permits, excuse me, have been approved for fracking sites in predominantly low-income communities of color in East Fort Worth, particularly Stop 6. Even though the technology exists for the oil and gas industry to drill for gas from miles away if drilling is still a priority for the city. But I do want to offer a perspective on the health harms of fracking pollution. Several studies have shown that the dangerous chemicals that escape during the fracking process worsen air quality and pose health risks for those exposed, especially small children, who breathe in more toxins per breath, per pound of body weight than adults. A Yale research team has also demonstrated that the carcinogens involved in fracking operations have the potential to contaminate both air and water in nearby communities in ways that may increase the risk of childhood leukemia. In fact, this Yale team identified 55 possible or known carcinogens that are used in fracking operations. And of these, 20 are linked to leukemia and lymphoma. Studies done at UTA and elsewhere have also found benzene emissions from drilling, which is also linked to childhood leukemia. Fracking is also associated with health impacts ranging from regular migraines to increased rates of asthma hospitalizations, and cardiovascular disease, and even early mortality. And who is left to deal with these health conditions? It is the individuals afflicted, their families, and their communities. And the communities that are overburdened with this pollution don't often have the resources to deal with these health impacts. So I'm asking you all to please be proactive in protecting the health of your constituents, particularly those in historically underserved communities, such as in the East Fort Worth neighborhoods. Please promote environmental justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jim DeLong, followed by Hassan Aisha.
Good evening. My name is Jim DeLong, and I'm here to talk about equity and equality. A number of months ago at a city council work session, you had a graphic similar to this. Can you make it a little bit bigger, please? Thank you. And as I was looking at it, some things struck me. You have people outside a fence, and then what are they looking at? They're looking at a baseball game. They're looking at a sports game. And so they're kind of on the outside looking in. Can you imagine the Dallas Cowboys having a football team and so much percent of the team have to be transgender? So much percent of the team has to be Asian? So much percent of the team has to be black? Has to be white, has to be whatever, of this religion, of that religion. What kind of a pro football team would you have? Would they be competitive as a football team? So we have some dichotomy. On one side, in companies, we are pushing for DEI or those types of things. But real life is different than that. Sports teams, if they took on those guidelines, they'd be a losing team because it's meritocracy. Are you good at what you do? And in pro sports, are you the best at what you do? And that's part of life. We all face that. I was a musician for years. They never asked my race. They never asked whether I had a degree in music, which I do. They wanted to know, can I play? I'd go into a recording session. They hired me because they thought I could play well enough on their album. I've traveled the world playing to tens of thousands of people a night. Why was I on that platform? Because I'm a nice guy? No. Because of my color? No. They didn't care about that. They wanted to know, can I play? Meritocracy. And we just recently had the plane crash in Washington, D.C. Some people have thought that the FAA hired traffic controllers based on DEI. Whether that's true or not, there's something there. You want the best people in the job. So what do we need to do? We need to find ways to help people become the best that they can be. I've got other things I could say. Out of time. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Hassan Aisha, followed by Caleb Roberts.
Good evening. My name is Aisha Hassan. I am from District 7, and I'm here with the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. The East and North Side communities of Fort Worth deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, like all other members of the larger Fort Worth community. Fort Worth East and North Side communities have been overburdened with industrial land uses that have created disproportionately adverse effects on air and water quality, greatly impacting these communities' quality of life. The Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities has been advocating for a meeting to discuss these issues since the spring of 2024. As a member of this community, I'd sincerely and urgently like to request and urge you all to please meet and discuss these issues to honor the dignity of our North and East Side communities, and in essence, to honor the dignity of all our communities here in Fort Worth. A lack of communication regarding these requests is a direct blow to people's basic dignity and ultimately their humanity. So I urge you to please take the time to listen to this community, to this groups of individuals who are trying to genuinely and sincerely provide their input to be a part of the solution. So I'm here today to ask City Council members to please listen to the communities you serve and address the issues brought forth by the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities, to include community voice and environmental justice in the 2050 Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker is Caleb Roberts, followed by Lydia Faith.
Good evening, Caleb Roberts, Executive Director, Down Winters at Risk, also a part of the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. I won't repeat what everyone said here today. Most of this is about the feedback we are getting or not getting from the city on the process of the comprehensive plan. We love what we heard from the city manager and Eric as well about what's going on, but this has taken almost a year just to get to the point where we've heard this kind of feedback. And just to let you know, I'm an AICP certified urban planner. I've done multiple comprehensive plans in DFW, so I do know it's a big undertaking to do a comprehensive plan. But our question is this an open process or not when it comes to comment? If a coalition of people get together, state demands or requests of their city about what they would like their future to be, this 2050 plan, and you send 3,000 letters, you email all of your city council people, you email city staff, and it's not until you can organize an event to come to a public comment hearing before you're told about the responses. Is that the level of openness do we want in terms of our comprehensive plan? And for us, it is, are these things being taken seriously or not? So we must agitate, we must keep rising, keep coming to these events to show you all that these things are important. And even in the term environmental justice, talking about pollution, talking about the health effects it has on our unborn children, on our children, on our families, it's not just the term environmental justice. Land use in urban planning and zoning was created to separate industrial and residential. It's not just the term environmental justice. We have to use that term because it has not been executed in cities like we have here in Fort Worth, where we have residential communities right next to some of the most extreme polluters that we have in the state of Texas. And that is something that we introduce comprehensive plans to address. So even the reason we have to create another term to talk about these things kind of pushes away from the issue that this is an original land use problem that should have never been created. And we can go to the history of why it was created, why some communities have this, and why some other communities are not inundated with these industries. But our point today is environmental justice is a real thing that we want to address. We've tried to do it as the right way as possible, going through the right channels. And if we're not heard, we have to make a way that we need to be heard, because this is a plan that's going to take 30 years, looking 30 years in the future, and our communities cannot survive another 30 years of industrial pollution. Thank you.
Lydia Faith. Lydia will be followed by Jorge Puentes.
Hello, my name is Lydia, and I'm a Fort Worth community member and a member of Tarrant for Change, as well as part of the Fort Worth ECC. So here we are again, once again, advocating that you all include us, the community, in your decisions that will directly impact us. We were here a month ago when you all decided to elect a city manager without including the community in that process, which even your fellow city council members, Jared and Chris, called you all out on. We are asking for you to include us in our input in the 2050 comprehensive plan. We're asking for transparency, and we shouldn't have to keep coming up here to demand you all do your job. The plan that will affect all of us for the next 25 years, because what we do now will affect the future generations, and that is why we need to include environmental justice in this plan. We have emailed, called, and showed up to City Council asking for a response for over a year and nothing. And why is it that we are just now, at this meeting, we are hearing about this supposed plan to meet with the community for the comprehensive plan? If your job is to serve the community, then how do you expect to serve the community when you don't even respond? One last question I would like to leave with you all. Why is it that a white extremist evangelical church, Mercy Culture, can come in here and get whole permits passed with ease, but we can't even get a simple response back to having a community meeting with the city council? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marie Esquivel, followed by Johnny Lewis.
Mayor, I think Jorge was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jorge, you're right. You're next. And I kept, please, and then Marie Esquivel.
My name is Jorge, and I'm a member of PSL, and I'm here to support the Fort Worth Environmental Committee Coalition. Today, I stand here before you to address the critical issues affecting countless residents in Fort Worth, particularly those on the east and north side of our city. The communities face disproportionately negative impacts from industrial land uses resulting in poor air and water quality, the diminished quality of life. This is just not an environmental issue, it's a matter of justice and equality and the rights of every person to live in a safe and healthy environment. For too long, these neighborhoods have borne the brunt of industrial pollution. While their voices have been ignored, the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition has been fighting tirelessly to change things since 2004. They have repeatedly requested meetings with the city staff to address the environmental issues with the 2050 comprehensive plan. Yet these requests have been met with silence. This is unacceptable.
When communities speak, they deserve to be heard. The Forward Environmental Coalition is demanding action. They're calling for environmental justice to be integrated in the central theme in the 2050 Comprehensive Plan. This means holding citywide public meetings to brainstorm goals and ensure that community input is not just heard, but accepted upon. It means integrating environmental justice goals into every city department, ensuring the quality and sustainability are not afterthoughts, but guiding principles. And it means halting industrial zoning in the vulnerable areas until the plan is approved, while increasing monetary enforcement of industrial regulations to protect the residents' health and well-being. This is not a radical demand, it's a moral imperative. Environmental justice is about recognizing that no community should be sacrificed for profits or convenience. It is about ensuring that every person, regardless of zip code, has the rights to clean air, clean water, safe place, and a safe place to call home. Thank you.
Is Marie Esquivel, followed by Johnny Lewis.
Hello, my name is Marie. I'm just a local citizen and speaking on behalf of environmental justice as well. And I hope y'all listen instead of having side talk and just smiling through what everyone is coming up here to say. Fort Worth City Council, as a young Latino activist, I stand before you and demand justice for my community. The 2050 Comprehensive Plan is a slap in the face to every single one of us who's been fighting for environmental justice. You claim to respect our city, represent our city, but your actions speak louder than words. The lack of consideration for environmental justice is a clear indication that you are not listening to our voices. You're not listening to the concerns, not only to the Latino community, but other communities as well, who are affected by the pollution and industrial zoning as well. We will not be silenced and we will not be ignored. There is a growing movement of the Latino community, and not just us, but others around us as well, who are ready to fight for their rights in their communities. I will be the first to stand before you and inform you I will not back down no matter what. No matter who tries to stop me or my community, we will not stand by while you continue to prioritize profit over your own people. It's really sad to say that all everyone ever sees is the money signs, and clearly that's all y'all are looking at. Why don't you look into the eyes that those that are suffering through everything? These protests as well, and that I organize, and as others in my community, to keep families together, to keep love alive, and to keep hope as well. Coming from a Christian who walks with faith of God, I will continue to speak and stand up for those in injustice that fear to step outside of their homes, for those children that are getting swept away from their mothers and fathers. As God says in Leviticus 19:33-34, when strangers sojourn with you in your land, you should not do them wrong. That's including everyone here. You should treat them strangers who sojourn with you as native among you. You shall love them as you would love yourselves, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. So, why continue to push us out? Why continue to ignore the problem? Do you know that we lead in 4 categories? In global shootings, number of adults who believe their injury is real, number of incarcerated citizens per capita, and as well as defense spending, where we spend more than 26 combined, 25 whom to be allies. So, when will you step up as city council to protect and stand up for your community and actually make a change?
Our next speaker is Johnny Lewis, followed by Mary Wood.
Evening, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Johnny Lewis. I live on the south side of Fort Worth. I've lived there for 50 years. I've also done work in the east side of Fort Worth. And I won't be repetitive of the beautiful words that I've heard from all of the previous speakers. But I will say one thing, and I'll ask now. When I lived on the south side, there was a steel plant. It was over on Vickery. Every night, when I moved over there in 1969, you could hear the sounds of steel, you could see the steam coming up, and you could see flames coming out of the steel mill. We had the soil tested over in one particular area over at Bethlehem Community Center, and we were told that we had so much heavy metal over there, it wouldn't advise a pregnant woman to go over there. We don't go over into all of that. I worked out on the east side where I helped to shut down a company that was supposedly just producing soap. But then when we started looking at that, looking deeper into it, I think the council even found out that there was more, that they were producing more than just soap. Let's move forward. You have to do more than listen. And I'm asking that you include Councilman Nettles and Mayor Williams and everyone else. When you start writing the policy, it is the policy that will affect the change in the future. Listening to these people is one thing, going into meetings is another thing, but it is the policy that what you do for land use in the future that will make the city manager, whoever he or she is, react and protect the citizens. So I'm asking you, when you start to write these policies and the practices that they will ensure that they will go to in the future, please include people from these communities. One of the things I can tell you now is that there are people, because my community is being gentrified, and all of a sudden some of those people who are paying $200,000 for those homes are starting getting the land, getting the soil tested. They ain't too happy about what they finding. So I'm asking, in the future, for all future land use, that you include people from the community, from these infected lands, this property. But if you will, please let them sit in on the policies that you enact for the future.
Speaker is Mary Wood, followed by David Kershavisky. Is Mary here? David Kervitsky, and I'm probably butchering that, and David can correct me. Thank you, David. David, you'll be followed by Dominique Jones.
Is that me now? Okay, you said followed by. Greetings, good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is David Kucherivsky. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about a property located at 5008 Collet Little Road, which spans 2.42 acres. Recently, this site attracted interest and from different developers. One is Safe Store, a luxury storage facility. The second one that you may all be aware of, Interfaith Housing for an 88 development for senior living, affordable senior housing. Both endeavors unfortunately fell through. Safe Store faced challenges with market statistics, and Interfaith Housing struggled with to secure tax credits and withdrew about 2 years after. This illustrates the difficulty in finding viable projects under the current zoning. And so the current challenge in the zoning, so despite being located in a great opportunity area, the property current E and ER zoning seems unattractive for new investors. Councilwoman Martinez from District 11 I've spoken with previously, and she kindly mentioned she would possibly support potential planned development instead of heavier industrial zoning J or K. A PD zoning might open up the possibility for other businesses, retail or mixed-use projects to thrive here. Unfortunately, the existing zoning mixed-use projects structures have not been effective to draw any kind of economic activity to benefit community. We also like to see. So I'm here to ask for your support for pursuing zoning changes or special approval so that developers can have more flexibility. This would encourage investment, creating jobs, bringing valuable services to our neighborhood. A more suitable zoning designation like planned development could truly transform this property into beneficial for entire community. So I want to conclude by saying thank you for your time and your consideration, and I hope we can work together to find a viable solution for 5008 Colorado Little Road. And I'm happy to answer any question or discuss next steps in the process. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Dominique Jones, followed by James Barker Murphy.
Good evening. The reason I'm here today is also in support of the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition. Unfortunately, it's also because of a variety of interconnected issues the Fort Worth City Council has failed to adequately address at this point in time to the level Fort Worth residents deserve. The failure of the City Council to take proactive and detailed leadership prior to this point and ensuring environmental justice, particularly in Fort Worth Black and Latino communities, has been consistent with the city government's policy track record that has led to parts of Fort Worth having among the lowest life expectancies in Texas. It should not need to be said that there's no more cross-cultural, bipartisan, or important issue than clean air and clean water, and a government having a transparent plan to ensure it for its residents. We are standing up today to say that the shameful exclusion by the City Council of meaningfully ensuring environmental justice as a pillar of the Fort Worth 2050 Comprehensive Plan with the maximum urgency on behalf of Fort Worth residents is unacceptable to us, to the most vulnerable, to Black and brown communities that you serve. It's unacceptable to our children, and it's unacceptable to our grandchildren. And it's a dangerous oversight that must be rectified by this council immediately. Thank you.
Our next speaker is James Barker Murphy, followed by Mytisha James. No? Martasha, you can come down. Martasha, I have you listed here as a group representative. If you're here with Martisha's group, I've got Thomas and Maria. You could stand or raise your hand. Thank you. Maria. Leslie Baker. Thank you. Spencer Dickinson. Thank you. Linda Freeman. Alicia Kendrick. Geraldine Jackie Cox. I haven't seen Miss Cox tonight yet. Chris Evans. Thank you. Mark James. And Kira Landers. Okay, Martisha, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
3.
My name is Martasia James, and I'm here to speak on the Environmental Coalition. I'm president of Fort Worth Environmental Coalition. Okay, who are we? We're the coalition of local organizers advocating for environmental justice. I believe you guys have been seeing us here since 2021. And basically, we've been advocating for a better environment for our communities and our neighborhoods. This third picture that you can see is one of our residents in our neighborhood's backyard, and you can see how close her fence is to the trucking company that parks there behind her yard. We believe that corporations that pollute and put human lives at risk must be held accountable and have no right to continue their operations. The census tracts that a majority minority have twice the amount in industrial zoning and land use in other communities. Tracts that are more than 75% minority have 3 times the amount of industrial use. And would y'all say that our area is that 3 times more industrial use? I would say so. The negative effects on our health, exposure to pollution can cause health issues such as asthma, cancer, COPD, increased cancer risk, and health risk. And from our testimonials of coming down here many times before, you have heard the stories that we've told you guys and pictures from other members of our community of dogs having terminal illnesses, having to be laid to rest, women being able to not carry children to full-term births, and other members of our community who have developed different internal health issues based off these companies being in our neighborhood. We need land use and zoning reform. Filing complaints on singular industries does not solve the problem, especially in communities that are closed to industrial zoning where new industries pop up monthly. We need longer lasting changes that allows our neighborhoods to be healthier. So granted, we ask you guys to listen to us about not having some industrial come in right now, but that doesn't mean that we're asking backdoor for other industrial companies to be introduced or welcomed within our area altogether. Reimagine Fort Worth 2050 Comprehensive Plan. We want environmental justice to be a theme in the comprehensive plan. We want the city of Fort Worth to hold a town hall to engage with us on identifying citywide environmental concerns. So aside from having the crayons and markers when you guys come to visit, we want you to actually take down the notes that we're telling you as far as what we want in our community when it comes to the comprehensive plan. And everyone who supports environmental justice as a theme in our comprehensive plan, can you please stand? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Hannah Reed, followed by Mary Goodman.
Hello, everyone. I currently live in Northeast Fort Worth next to the airport, and right across the street from my apartment is a factory that makes pesticides. When going to work at my alma mater, TCC South, I ride through the south side, see dilapidated refineries and abandoned buildings that could be affordable homes, beautiful murals of those who are no longer with us on this earth, and close by fracking drills and fields where children play. And yet no mention of environmental justice anywhere in the 2050 Fort Worth Comprehension Plan. The east, north, and south side communities of Fort Worth are overburdened with industrial land, causing disproportionately adverse effects of air and water quality, street conditions, and the overall quality of life, as many people here have said today. Chemicals seep into water as seen in Grand Prairie, that city where a bankrupt weapons manufacturer dumped cancer-causing degreasers in a Latino community right next to a school. Plastic and fertilizer plants have a tendency to explode, as seen by the 2013 explosion of West Fertilizer Company and the 2020 fires at Polyamerica. My father, who is a mechanic, was there during the fire, and since then he has been having health problems. Still though, I am not the population being the most impacted. Environmental justice is intrinsically tied to racial justice. According to the National Black Environmental Justice Network, Black Americans are 79% more likely to live with industrial pollution than white people and breathe in 56% more pollution than they produce. Native and Latino communities often face similar issues of environmental invasion. That is because the same unsustainable systems that colonized and redlined the country also permit corporations to dump the byproducts and build the smokestacks of what they refuse to take accountability for in Black and brown neighborhoods. After 3,000 letters to the Fort Worth City Council have gone unaddressed, the demands of the FWECC must be fulfilled. Remove industrial zoning and ensure residential and commercial zoning for neighborhoods like Stop 6 and Echo Heights. Monitor smokestack emissions in the north side. And when making your rezoning decisions, think about the people who live there. Build parks and third spaces, daycares and food pantries, warming and cooling centers, and guaranteed housing. There can be no environmental justice with neighbors on the street in the elements. Work alongside groups like the South Side, the South Side Community Garden, and stop treating the communities of Fort Worth as corporate dumping grounds. You have a duty to residents to help us build something better. Add FWECC's demands to the 2050 Comprehension Plan now.
Here is Mary Goodman. Ms. Goodman will be followed by Brittany McMillan.
Good evening. My name is Mary Goodman, and I live in District 8, Chris Nettles District. I have come here often in the last at least couple of years to talk about Echo Heights and just the environmental justice that everyone is talking about tonight. The east and north side communities of Fort Worth are overburdened with industrial uses such as gas wells, trucking companies, chemical factories that result in poor air and water quality, poor street conditions, noise pollution, trash. This coalition has been requesting for a meeting, as other people have said, since spring of last year. And the timing that a meeting or a town hall is going to be happening is good, but it did take almost a year to make that happen. We believe that community input to the planning of the 2050 Comprehensive Plan is vital. These communities must be heard and their issues addressed in the zoning area of the plan. We also need to address the condition of parks in these areas. Parks are vital to community cohesion, and when the condition of the basketball courts, the playground equipment, the bathrooms, the picnic tables match those parks found near wealthier neighborhoods, that is environmental justice. I deliver meals for Meals on Wheels. Some of the routes are in areas east of I-35 between Berry and Rosedale, and also north of I-35 around in that same area. Some of the streets do not have curbs. There's huge potholes. Their streets don't look like the streets where my house is. Their quality of life is affected by their zip code. I request the city planning staff include all Fort Worth voices being heard. Our neighbors in Echo Heights and the north side, the south side, are here making that request. We all are requesting a seat at the table. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brittany McMillan, followed by Peyton Jackson.
Good evening, Council. Thank you. My name's Brittany. I don't want to repeat too much of what's already been said by a lot of the wonderful speakers here. I do want to recall Mr. Lewis's statement or request to do more than listen, and really just ask the Council to recall that you are in a very privileged position. You've been elected to these seats because people have some faith in you to use the resources of this city wisely. You are responsible for the health and wealth of thousands of people in the city of Fort Worth. The lack of care that some have been feeling, or the decision to make or not make a policy, is all up to human choices. Ultimately, the legacy that we leave as people is up to human choices. It can be all too easy in these municipal proceedings to say, well, this is how the council before me did it. This is how our city contracts have worked for this many years. This is how the regulator before me did things. It can be very easy for systems and decisions to kind of get stuck after years and years of functioning a way that they function. But we know, to Mr. Roberts' point, that history has not always been reflective of the right decisions and what we think of as the moral decisions. Your job ultimately is to care for the people in your community and to serve them as their elected representatives. And on a further level, right, just as a human being, right, when you know that your community is sick, when you know that your community is desperately asking for your help, and it is your job, your elected, paid job, to listen to their concerns, and not just listen, but make actionable policies, perhaps that are inconvenient, again, because of those systems that are in place. You have a community that is begging for your engagement. And if they have to repeatedly come and say that they are not getting that engagement met, there's a reflection in that leadership. You can't really call yourself a leader if the people do not look to you and feel that you're leading them properly. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Peyton Jackson, followed by Gerald Banks Sr.
Good afternoon, Council. I went to one of the best high schools in the state of Texas, Plano West Senior High. And during my junior year there, I was handed a book titled Brave New World. Now, bear with me, it's been a decade, but from what I can remember, it's about this futuristic society that doesn't stress much. They take a drug called soma, which is probably ecstasy, and they indulge in completely random or planned out orgies. Now, while that all sounds amazing, yet somewhat like The Weekend at Diddy's house, imagine if the Rich Dad Poor Dad series was given to me instead. Now, don't get me wrong, as a woman of 28 years, I am extremely accomplished. I mean, I bust right through Maslow's pyramid, but I didn't need to read A Brave New World. I needed to create one. I mean, I should have been given Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clausen, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wilbright, What the Rockefellers Do by Gunderson, or The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Well, maybe not that last one, it's a little toxic. But it's not just Fort Worth ISD or Grand Prairie or Dallas ISD, it's the public school system as a whole that's failing. I mean, imagine going over test scores from 3rd and 4th graders and then deciding to break ground on the next prison. But something that me and this council can agree on is that this is a political issue. For us, it's a personal issue for y'all. As a parent, I gave up on Fort Worth ISD and Dallas ISD long ago with no regrets. We teach to a test that teaches us nothing. That STAR test does not align with reality outside of graduation. I mean, you graduate high school, you know nothing about how to do your taxes, let alone the benefits of corporate taxation. You graduate high school, you know nothing about the 5 factors of credit right before you take out a massive student loan. Speaking of student loans, you know nothing about the calculations of DTI, unknowing that that's going to be used for your mortgage. Speaking of mortgages, you know nothing about construction, even though in the state of Texas, you don't even need a license to build. I mean, I would bring up the lack of knowledge surrounding government contracts or infinite banking or any of the auctions that we have, like the one we had this morning, but we even took driver's ed out of school. So I have no idea what we're doing. But back to my point, I said it once and I'll say it again, student loan debt is one of the top 3 consumer debts in this nation, yet we still preach that you have to go to college to be successful, and that's not true. That's not true. But you see, I don't need student loan forgiveness. They'll get it back when I get it. What I need is for a revolutionary to stand up and nip it in the bud with this next generation. But here I am in front of city officials, school board officials, county officials, state officials, federal officials who are good for nothing more than a few galas and photo ops. And sometimes they aren't even good at that. But Les Brown said that whatever we have to do to save our children, it's worth it. But not when your administrations are worthless. Mayor Parker, you can go ahead and call your next speaker.
Our next speaker is Gerald Banks Sr., followed by Adrian Smith.
Gerald Banks Sr., District 5. Starting out the new year with old year problems. Protest after protest after protest. With it being the 4th largest city in the state of Texas with the most jailhouse deaths, say a lot about Fort Worth. I've even marched in the rain with other protesters seeking transparency, accountability, and justice for the families who has fatalities of some kind in Tarrant County jail system. The people in custody should be treated in a humane way, no matter what reason or condition they entered into the jailhouse doors. What good is it doing us to continue to protest about custody jail debts in Tarrant County when it continues to happen? over and over again. This system and procedures need to be checked out by an outside agency that will indicate what's really going on and what now or has become a debt chamber. Councilman Nettles. People's lives are in jeopardy, and knows it just might be one of yours or one of your loved ones next. The election for seats in this city of Fort Worth is approaching fast, and corruption is beginning to be about already, as usual. To relinquish your seat for oppression, to step in with twisted ideals will be a dark day for the city of Fort Worth. Vote wisely is all I can say. I'd like to dedicate this to my son and my nephew. Happy birthday.
Adrian Smith will be followed by Jason X. Is Adrian here? Jason X, followed by Mr. Abdullah Bahani, Mrs., excuse me, and then Raquel Reeves.
Is this thing on? Okay. Hi, my name is Bayana Abdullah. I'm going to stand here because I think you have a better ability to see me than here. I think that we have something in common. I, too, was a public servant. I taught biology and AP biology for the past 5 years. I miss my kids. And one of the things that has stood out to me, and I don't mean this to scold, but when students came to me like with issues, like it didn't matter what type of day I had. It didn't matter like what was happening. It was my responsibility to like look them in the eyes and model what I asked them to do in class, right? And so, you know, like when some of our elders were speaking today, I have to say, like, it hurts to see that, like, attention was not being paid to them. Like, I know that the days are long and hard, but it's, like, it's your responsibility. And like they've been saying, like, you signed up for this, right? So that's your job. You may have guessed, but I'm here with the environmental justice crew. I'm a resident of District 5, but I'm new to Fort Worth. Hi, Miss Bevins. Oh, wait, the camera's there. Hi. Yeah, so I'm in District 5. I'm in East Fort Worth. And one of the things that stands out to me is, like, 3,000 letters is a lot of letters. 3,000 letters is way too many letters not to have a meeting, right? Not to have a single meeting. 3,000 letters is way too much. Whatever your threshold is, which there shouldn't be because that's being a human, right? That's too many. Speaking of being a human, it's pretty dehumanizing to have to beg for a meeting for something that affects your family's like lives, right? Like, I actually hate speaking at city council for that very reason, because it's really dehumanizing to have to like appeal to people as to why you deserve things that other people like never have to think twice about having. Did you ever think about that? Like, maybe you've never had to worry about clean air. Maybe your family members, maybe asthma doesn't run in your family, right? Maybe you never had to take your baby sister to the hospital because she can't breathe. But if it were you, then you would hope that somebody listened and that you wouldn't have to beg them to pay attention. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, do you feel me? So, you know, I had something written and I was gonna come and I was gonna like, you know, lay out the facts. I'm also like studying pollution dynamics right now, like as a PhD, but like the science, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the people that you were elected to serve, that you volunteered to serve, are asking you for something. So whether you believe in it or not, whether you think it's important or not, whether you're like, if you like buy into the science, whether you know, your granddaddy's a real estate developer and how would this, you know, affect his business, it really doesn't matter. The simple fact of the matter is that people are coming here asking you to pay attention to something, and it's your responsibility.
Thank you, Ms. Abdullah. Our next speaker. Our next speaker is Raquel Reeves, followed by James Smith.
Good evening, council members. My name is Raquel Reeves, and I'm here representing our community's urgent concerns about environmental justice in Fort Worth's 2050 Comprehensive Plan. For decades, our east and north side communities have borne the weight of the city's industrial development. Our neighborhoods are surrounded by gas wells, trucking companies, and chemical factories. This isn't random chance. This is the result of systematic policy decisions that have consistently placed harmful industrial operations in predominantly Black and brown communities. The numbers tell a stark story. Over 3,000 of your constituents have written to this council requesting a town hall discussion about environmental justice. Since spring 2024, the Fort Worth Environmental Community Coalition has repeatedly requested meetings to address these concerns. These voices, your constituency's voices, have been met with silence. How can we claim to be planning Fort Worth's future for 2050 while ignoring the communities most impacted by our past? The current draft of the comprehensive plan makes no mention of environmental justice, an omission that speaks volumes about whose future we're planning for. Let me be clear about what our communities are currently experiencing: compromised air quality, contaminated water, deteriorating streets, and declining quality of life. The health impacts on our families are not theoretical. They are real, they are measurable, and they are preventable. We come here before you today with specific actionable demands. First, environmental justice must be integrated as a core theme in the comprehensive plan, with dedicated public meetings to ensure meaningful community input. The progress we've seen in Echo Heights and North Side shows what's possible, but it must be expanded citywide. Second, environmental justice considerations must be embedded in every city department's decision-making process, from zoning and code enforcement to parks and recreation. Finally, we demand immediate action to rezone industrial areas in Echo Heights, Village Creek, and Stop 6 to more community-friendly uses. We need a pause on new industrial zoning until the comprehensive plan is approved and robust enforcement of existing environmental regulations. The 2050 comprehensive plan represents a crucial opportunity to correct decades of environmental inequity. Will you partner with us to build a Fort Worth where every neighborhood can thrive, or will you needlessly perpetuate policies that sacrifice some communities for the benefit of others? Thank you for your time. I look forward to your response to our community demands. I know some of that was repeating some of the great speakers that have already spoken, but that's my piece. Thank you.
Our next speaker is James Smith, followed by Christopher Gomez.
Hello, Council. My name is James Smith. I live in District 8. As we enter into year number 6 of the death of Tatiana Jefferson, I'm reminded today that there's only one council member here that was here in the beginning. What that does is water down the history of the event. It waters down the comprehensive thought that it will take when you get to deliberate the accountability for her death, when the majority know little about what happened. I'm hoping, and the family's hoping, that 2025 will be a chance for us to turn the page, to chart a new course in our lives. It's not easy. It's not going to never be forgotten. We hear a lot about family separation, you know, what's going on in our country right now, the deportation. Unfortunately, that's what happened to Tatiana's father many years ago. He was deported from the United States, and he wasn't able to raise his daughter, his daughters, Amber and Tatiana. But he did have a relationship with his daughter. A week before she died, she FaceTimed her father requesting how to get a passport so she could go to Nigeria and get to know him and the rest of her family that she never met. She had a father. She had a mother. And because they're not here to advocate for her, that's why you've seen me going into 6 years. And you will see me until this is resolved, and you'll probably see me after this is resolved, so I can join a group like this. Environmental justice. Not to tell my age, but the only thing I really worried about in Fort Worth when I was growing up was going to the north side and smelling the stockyard cows from the meat packing plant. Driving down Interstate 35 and smelling Miss Barrett's bread or the brewery. Now we have to smell chemicals. We have to smell chemicals, deadly chemicals. I may not be here in 50 years, but this plan, you need to get with the citizens of Fort Worth and do the justice. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Christopher Gomez, followed by Stacy Mello.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Christopher, and I am here today as a resident that's deeply invested in the well-being of Fort Worth's diverse communities and as a supporter of the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. Throughout my professional career, I've worked closely with labor unions, environmental justice groups, and community organizations across Texas to promote policies that protect workers, communities, and our environment. And one of the things that I've learned is that true progress happens when everyday people, like the residents here tonight, have a say in a decision that affects their lives. This vision doesn't just create healthier communities, it unlocks new opportunities for economic growth and job creation. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case when it's come to Fort Worth's 2050 comprehensive plan. This plan will shape the future of our city, but it currently fails to mention environmental justice or address the harmful land use and zoning patterns that have historically burdened Black and brown communities in the east and north sides of Fort Worth. Residents suffer with polluted air, unsafe water, degraded infrastructure, and reduced property values. And ignoring these issues isn't just inequitable, it's economically short-sighted. Cleaning up industrial zoned areas and implementing green infrastructure can boost those property values, attract businesses, and create new high-quality jobs in energy, environmental remediation, and green construction. Fort Worth has the opportunity to be a leader in this space by integrating environmental justice goals into its comprehensive plan and reimagining how land use decisions can create vibrant and thriving communities. Fort Worth has a chance to lead by example, to correct past harms and build a healthier, stronger city. But that can only happen if environmental justice is a priority. Our communities deserve better, these people deserve better, each of you deserves better. And we are ready to partner with the city to make that happen. Please commit to working with us to build a comprehensive plan that truly serves all of Fort Worth. Thank you.
Stacy Mello.
Hello, Council. As many of my courageous community members have stated already, I'm so just like invigorated and fired up by all of the words that have been said here. We know that environmental justice is a huge, huge need that's needed in Fort Worth, in particular, the East and North communities that are disproportionately affected by this.
And we know that the city council's policy choices, whether that be by passing these policies yourself or doing nothing to address the horrific legacy of these policies that have disproportionately affected low-income communities in the east and north side of Fort Worth. So my question is, were you not all elected to serve your community? All of your community members to advocate and fight for a better quality of life for your constituents. Is that not why you were elected? Okay, so why is it such a struggle for you to stand up right now for your constituents that day in and day out have to live out their American dream in poisonous environments that you seem to not really be interested in doing anything about? Mayor Parker, you have openly come out against the Keller ISD split, an unjust move by the Keller School Board we know will further disenfranchise low-income Black and brown students and communities of Fort Worth, and I thank you for speaking out about that. However, why can't we get that same energy from you and the entire city council when it comes to doing something about the environmental injustice those same students are facing? What's it gonna take to get some action out of you on this? How many more chemicals do people need to breathe in? Do you have a number on that? How many more health issues do people, your constituents, have to endure before you can start to show through your actions that you can do your job and fight for environmental justice that all citizens deserve? Thank you.
Council, that is the conclusion of our speakers this evening. The meeting is adjourned.